we're basically going to talk about the role of nutrition in prevention, treatment, and management of cancer. And we have two guest speakers. All of them are nutritionists from Nairobi, Kenya. And our guest is Kennedy Okinda, who's a nutrition oncologist, and is also a research enthusiast and officer. And we also have the Secretary General for the Kenya Union of Nutritionists and Dietitians, who's also a research enthusiast and a cancer enthusiast as well. So allow me to reach out as we give the others like 4 minutes so that we have quorum, and then we can go ahead and start with the meeting.
Hello, thank you, Lilian. We are also having a team joining this platform from Rwanda. As you mentioned, I'm Kamanzi Private, and I'm the president of Rwanda Nutritionists Society. And I'm having the team joining this session from Rwanda. I want to take this opportunity to first welcome the team from Rwanda. I see them here. They are in good numbers. But also, I want to just make a communication before the session starts. For the team joining from Rwanda, this will be like a CPD session. Whereby after this session, Rwanda Nutritionist Society will give a CPD to those ones who have managed to participate to this important webinar. So I really want to encourage for those ones joining from Rwanda, it will be better if in the chat box, just to mention your name, you write your name and the phone number, such that our secretary can have the list of the participants whom we shall refer to give those CPDs. So this is the communication I would wish to share with you guys as we are waiting for others to join. Thank you.
That is well noted. And as advised, professionals from Rwanda, kindly use the chat box to leave your details so that you get the CPD awards. And for those in Nairobi, Kenya, you can also use that chat box to interact with the fellow professionals from the other countries, as well as share concerns. And we wait for like 2 more minutes so that we can have a good number. And also our presenters get ready. If you have a question throughout the session, kindly be typing in the chat box. And as well, you can raise your hands in the last 30 minutes where we will have a Q&A. But when the presenters are presenting, if you have any concerns to avoid disruptions, just type them in the chat box.
Good evening, Mumina.
Good evening, SG. I was calling Kennedy, he's in, but you can, I think because of the flow of the presentation.
Yes.
Are you going to start or you'll start?
Kennedy, based on the information, Kennedy is supposed to start.
Oh, he's the one supposed to start, eh?
Yes.
Okay. So he's joining in 2 minutes, he'll be in. I have actually admitted Kennedy Okinda. He's a well-known, well-conversed research enthusiast and a cancer champion. Like, he's a nutrition oncologist. He's specialized in that, and he does that a lot. He also does a lot of training for professionals in Kenya. So our team from Rwanda, you are in great hands. So allow me to welcome Kennedy, and the president, you'll take it over from here. Is that okay?
Thank you, Lillian. How are you?
Hi, Kennedy. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you, and my apologies for joining late. Okay.
Apology received.
Okay, so just give me 2 minutes. Do I start or the president will start?
The president has already talked. He has addressed the people from Rwanda, and he will be moderating your session. So I don't know if you have slides, you can share your screen.
Yes.
Yes, kindly. That will be great. That will be
okay.
great.
Okay.
Lillian, as Kennedy is trying to connect the screen, I may have some few things to talk about while he is connecting. So as Kennedy is as you said, is an oncologist and a nutrition oncologist and a researcher. The floor which is here is eager to learn from him about the burden of cancer in Kenya. But if he has the data in the East African region, it would be better to share with us today. But also talking about the management of cancer, of common cancer, the dietary adjustment for cancer, the side effects of medication, treatment and procedures, and how nutrition affects the outcome of treatment and management. This is to say morbidity and mortality. If there are existing guidelines in Kenya, would be great to share with us. But also, as the team from Rwanda, we will be also learning on how best we can align this guideline with our interventions in the hospitals and the other areas of operation. We shall really have an eager to listen from him about the cancer management misses, because there are a lot of information circulating around, people who are not professionals, and really talking about how cancers must be managed, but sometimes they are the misses. If we will be happy to listen from him about the management of cancers, the misses that are around. You can touch on the green therapy, neurochemicals, cancer, and cancer management and prevention. Kennedy, the audience here will be having an eager lead from you to explore about the moving forward. How should we move forward as professionals in the area of operations where we normally work? What can we change to work toward this reducing the burden through improved services delivery? So this is the team here, the team of professionals here. Really want to learn from you as a researcher, as a nutritional oncologist, how really your expertise. You want to explore your expertise through these areas. I have just mentioned few. We really want to hear from you. You are welcome, sir, Mr. Kennedy.
Great. Thank you very much. It is my pleasure and honor to be part of this important conversation, especially a conversation that is quite dear to me, because this is my area of expertise. And I hope by the end of this discussion, we'll be able to learn from each other, because again, learning is cross-sectional and horizontal. So I hope I learn from the team from Rwanda and also my colleagues in Kenya and also from you. So I hope it will not just be a monologue kind of conversation. I'll share with you what my experiences are, and also what I think we should be doing moving forward. So allow me to start by my first presentation, just to walk us through the statistics and how we are doing both in Kenya. I don't know if I'll have statistics for the East African country, but I'll see if that is also available for this. So my kind of, in terms of statistics, to look at how we are doing. Just from the background, as I've been introduced, yes, my name is Kennedy Okinda. My background is in nutrition. I've specialized in area of oncology and cancer. And I'm also a research officer. I'm quite involved in researches. Currently, in area of cancer, I'm doing something on nutrition and cancer cachexia for esophageal cancer patients. So this is a study we are doing at where I'm working. Basically, we are trying to look at the nutritional care for esophageal cancer patients, and especially at the tail end where they're having cancer cachexia syndrome. So this study already we've gotten our ethics approval, and we are at data collection phase. I'll be glad once this study is complete that we'll have a platform like this just to share with you some of my findings. Not only on that area, so far I've done 3 publications, which we've done collaboratively. We've looked at tobacco and non-communicable diseases. So basically, we are looking at the 9 major conditions that are linked directly by tobacco use. And if you go to my LinkedIn profile, you can have my papers there, a paper that we've already published, around 3 papers. So you can be able to take time to read and also see. So we really found very worrying data. Just a highlight is that the cost of treating tobacco-linked diseases is quite high. Just to give you an example of lung cancer, for example, which has been directly linked with smoking, we spend close every time a patient visit a facility in Kenya, for example, to be seen and treated for lung cancer. We were looking at both direct and indirect cost of treatment of a lung cancer and other 9 linked diseases that are directly caused by tobacco smoking. So if I narrow it down to lung cancer for these purposes of this discussion, we say that we spend close to 500,000 Kenyan shilling. I think that is close to almost 5,000 US dollars to treat a lung cancer at every one visit. This costing we were doing, like, if you look at the cost of healthcare providers that this patient will go through when they pay a visit, you look at the costing of the medication that the patient will be using. You look at the costing of if the patient is to undergo radiotherapy, for example, for those stage 1, stage 2 disease. You look at the costing of diagnostics capacity. So at one given moment, if you do all those calculations, and again, you add the indirect cost, the patient will spend close to $5,000 per every visit to gain treatment for lung cancer, for example. So this just tells you the burden of cancer and why it is important for us to focus heavily on prevention at early phase. Now, that is not my conversation for today. So apart from that, I also do private consultation. So that is also one thing I do. I do training, majorly. I'm so glad that Lillian has invited me for this forum, but I also have my own. We also organize monthly trainings on areas of cancer. Allow me just just give me just a few minutes. I change my net.
Yes, please do. As Kennedy is changing his network, feel free to ask any question that you have regarding cancer. As you have heard from his prof at it.
For everyone. I'll not be breaking. Okay, so we are good?
Yes, now you're audible. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. So now, team, what I want to take you through, this is a document I also participated in development. I'll share it with Mumina so that at the end of this presentation, you can have a copy to. This is just National Cancer Control Program Strategy for Kenya. It's a 2022-2027 document. I was one of the technical people who participated. I'm a member of Technical Working Group for Cancer Control. So we worked on this document because it gives us a strategy on how to manage cancer. So here is my name. I'm one of the members of the technical working group who worked on this document. So I am confident to take you through. Especially the reason as to why I'm sharing this is just for us to go through the statistics of the background statistics. Then later on, now we delve into nutrition. I know we have quite short time, and I'll not be able to cover everything, but the better is for us to really cover the much we can. So I'm confident that by the end of this, we'll have a good sharing platform from both of us and also our colleagues from outside Kenya. So Kenya has really made some strides in cancer care. Mostly what we are looking forward to is the aspect of looking at the legislations, policies, and some of the strategies that we have. So in Kenya, of course, we have a principle of a hacking document, that is the Constitution of Kenya, which has provided the right to the highest attainable standards of health. So we are not just talking outside of air. As Kenya, we have serious documents that support our work. So the Constitution of Kenya has a provision to ensure that every person has the right to attain the highest standard of health. So that is the first key framework that we have. We also have Kenya Vision 2030. This is a landmark project that we are looking towards Vision 2030. And one of the key things is basically to look at quality life for citizens by 2023 in a clean and secure environment. So this is also a very important document that guides us, especially when we are talking about health issues. Then also we have the Cancer Prevention and Control Act 2012. So this is a very important document that was passed by Kenyan Parliament to really support the issues of cancer care overall in Kenya. So it is one of the key documents that also support the cancer control and care. Then, of course, we have Kenya Health Policy, that is 2014-2030. This is also a very important document that have been developed to guide us, especially. So the aspect of cancer falls under the category of non-communicable diseases. So cancer has been well taken care of by that policy. Then, of course, now we have Kenya Health Sector Strategic Plan 2018-2023 that I know right now it has expired. We have Kenya Cancer Policy 2019-2030. So these are just part of the documents that are supporting healthcare workers and also stakeholders in matters of cancer care. We have Kenya Palliative Care Policy 2021-2030. So these are also legal and frameworks that we are using. We have National Non-Communicable Diseases Strategic Plan, which is 2021, 2022 to 2025, 2026. It is still a very active document. And then the government of Kenya right now is pushing towards a universal health coverage, and we also have a policy towards that. So that said and done, we have now the document that we had developed, which is the National Cancer Control Program Strategy for 2022-2025, is one of the things that just add up to several legal frameworks, that legal and constitutional framework that we have. Again, this is just in addition to other national health guidelines and also policies that we have that is able to guide us in matters health. So this is very important for us now because it means that we have already the framework that guides us in matters health. So you don't find like anybody just comes from works in isolation. I don't know if the same applies to our colleagues from different countries, but now basically Kenya, we've made a lot of strides in matters of health, especially when it comes to frameworks and also the documents that guides us. So we are not working in isolation. So that said and done, I would like us to just go straight to the statistics that we are having. I know this document is not so, we developed it in 2020, this one we just developed the other day. So it is still an active document. It was 2022, 2023, 2027 document. So some of the statistics might have changed because I know we update these statistics time being. So basically looking at the global burden, by the time we were looking at this document, is that cancer still is one of the major 4 non-communicable diseases, which together with cardiovascular, diabetes, and chronic respiratory diseases cost over 60% of global mortality every year. This is quite a worrying trend. And the study that we did on tobacco and tobacco-related illnesses confirmed indeed that the non-communicable diseases is still taking a huge chunk, even in Kenya. So our Kenyan statistics versus the global statistics were almost the same. In Kenya, you find the non-communicable diseases now taking the major. So of course, the 4 major non-communicable diseases have 4 main shared risk factors, which include tobacco use, alcohol use, unhealthy diet, and physical inactivity. So you could see where nutritionists and dietitians also play a key role, because again, we've seen that major causes of these non-communicable diseases, unhealthy diet and physical inactivity, which nutritionists play day-to-day role to prevent, takes that center stage. So indeed, this explains to us the role we need to play further and why such platforms is very important for knowledge sharing. So we know that we need to take up our role without fear. And also knowing very well that if we fail to appropriately take our role, then we expect these cases to go high. Of course, it is estimated that 10 million deaths attributable to cancer are recorded annually, with about 75% of these occurring in low and middle income countries. This is quite a worrying statistics that if we have 10 people in every 10 mortalities, 7 of them is probably will come from low and middle income countries, above 7 to 8 cases. That is quite still a higher number. And Africa countries mostly fall under the lower and middle income countries. So again, if nothing is done, the statistic shows that it is projected a 60% increase in cancer cases anticipated going over the next 2 decades. We are looking at the period between the current period that we are in, that is 2020 to 2030, then 2030 to 2040. We look at a projected of 60% increase if nothing is done, especially in the cancer care. And then looking this in the lower middle income countries, largely we are mostly unprepared, and the reason why we are even having this conversation here, and I would like to get to know how the other countries doing, but you find the role of nutrition in cancer care right now is still not yet taken care of, and maybe I'll explain that in my next presentation. So you find that nutritionists and dietitians have not yet been fully recognized in the role of cancer care. And some of us who are now taking up this stage, we've pushed this agenda forward. What I failed to tell you in my opening remarks is that I'm also a member of Kenya Society of Hematology and Oncology, which is an umbrella society for all professionals taking care of cancer patients in Kenya. And being that member, I'm also a member of European Society of Medical Oncology. So now you see that really is what I want, and I will encourage most of the dietitian and nutrition today to try to fit into the societies that is, apart from us having our own individual society that is maybe Nutrition Society of Kenya, Association of Kenya, and all that. We need to start getting into the other multidisciplinary societies. Like now the KESHO, which is Kenya Society for Hematology and Oncology, is a big platform where you have medical oncologists, radiation oncologists, you have oncology pharmacists. So now we are there, and I think up to now we are around 5 nutritionists in that society. And this is a good sharing platform because we are even getting slots to present in webinars. So this, again, is one of the strategies that will help us to be recognized to that, because I can tell you there is a huge gap in care. So that said and done. So in low and middle income countries, indeed, we are really performing badly in matters cancer care and even prevention. And again, the statistic shows that if nothing is done right now, we really will have quite higher numbers. So now, in terms of cancer statistics, how we are doing as per the global view, then of course I'll come to Kenyan view. We looked at the cancer care gender. We have 41%. The cases being 41 per 1,000 population in female. Start looking at breast cancer in male gender. It's something that is coming up, and again, we are being encouraged for male gender to also start considering going for screening, especially those if you are taking care of patients who are obese, who have issues with the hormonal imbalance. You might encourage them to start going for screening for breast cancer, not because necessarily you suspect them to have it, but again, the statistics are now showing that male gender have started to have cancer. And even at my facility, we've had quite some of good cases that we've supported. So it is something that really you need to also start figuring out. Of course, prostate cancer, this quite predominant in male gender, around 39.9 per 1,000 population. This is now the global statistics. Then, of course, we have cervical cancer, which is predominantly in female gender, 31.3. We have esophageal cancer, quite coming up at number 4. And even Kenyan statistics, again, almost correspond with what global statistic is able to show. So Kenyan esophageal cancer is coming up, and even the studies now that I told you I'm currently doing on looking at cancer cachexia in esophageal cancer patients. This is what really drove us to look at it. Of course, colorectal, stomach, and so that is basically how the global statistics is currently looking like. So that tells you like the burden is still high. So you can look at the top 4 major cancers that are coming in, as you can see. So that was the aspect of looking at where we are. Then looking at the incident versus mortality, still the top 10 most cancer, the top 10 most cancers that we are currently taking care of are still also the top. The top 4 most cancers are still the top 4 most in matters mortality. So you could see the incidence of breast cancer and also the mortality. Of course, prostate cancer now taking center stage in matters mortality. But again, you could see even breast cancer and also cervical cancer still coming in. Looking at also the cancer of the esophagus, quite a difficult cancer to manage. I can tell you for a fact that this is one of the cancer that give me problems. This one and stomach cancer, because they directly involve the gastrointestinal tract. And again, as I'll be explaining to you, we are experiencing quite low referral level, late referral to nutritionists and from other professionals. And this has really made the care being more difficult, considering that you receive these patients at quite a later stage. I could see Mercy Anyango's hand is up. Maybe you have a question before I proceed. Okay. All right. So let's move on. Maybe it was by mistake. So now let me provide you with the statistics, Kenyan statistics. So the one we were looking at is quite global. So I can say that Kenyan statistics is more or less a pictorial of what global statistics look like. So cancer is still the leading, is the third leading cause of deaths in Kenya after infectious disease and cardiovascular. But again, we project that now cancer and cardiovascular disease will now be leading in other coming areas. So looking at the statistics, this one is a statistic from Global Cancer Center. Like we estimated in 2020, this might be now I can say the quite old statistics, because I know right now quite the numbers have changed. Against population by 2020, Kenyan population was about 53 million. We have new cancer cases in 2020 were around 42 with 27,000 deaths, and the number of prevalences cases was 82,000. Looking at that, so this is quite a huge number that we are having. That we are having new cases which are 42,000. Half of those patients die. So that is quite a worrying trend. And of course, looking at the gender, male still, of course, here male numbers are quite high compared to the female. And the five commonest cancer in Kenya are breast, cervical, prostate, esophageal, and colorectal. So these are quite common. And again, I can say that they sometimes follow each other like that. But you find breast cancer being leading, then prostate, of course, cervical and esophageal and colorectal come next. So for women, again, we have disappropriation affected by cancer with higher incidence recorded in women compared to men. And then, of course, the risk factors before the age of 75 years is 18% among women and 14.3% among men. So basically, that is how Kenyan statistics are. So this is just the breakdown. I've said these statistics might have changed because, again, we are in 2025, and these statistics we got from in the year 2020. But I know every year we have different numbers, but they have minimally changed because of the new cases that we are having. So again, as I was explaining, looking at the new cases, of course, the breast cancer still has a higher cancer rate. Of course, these other cancers, these are the ones that appear, the incidences are not so much, but now we group them together. And that's why you see the statistic quite high. But if you're looking at individual type of cancer, of course, breast cancer is still on the higher side. I would like us to really start focusing on esophageal cancer and look at what are the main causes of this. Is it really like now in Kenya, now we start looking at intake of hot tea, especially for countries or regions with which experience cold seasons. So we've started looking at those linkage. Is it directly linked? And also we have a special fermented milk that our other regions are taking. We call it here mursik. It's more of a fermented milk, and it has also been linked with the serious cause of esophageal cancer. Sharon Imali, do you have a question? Or before I move on, you could see your hands up. Or maybe we can take questions at the end of my presentation, so we don't take much time because we have so much.
Yes, I do, Ken.
Yeah. Yes, yes.
I feel, okay, we appreciate it's necessary for us to get a preview of where we are as far as research is concerned. But I was looking forward to a discussion on nutritional management of cancer, general understanding of how do we manage CA nutritionally. But now you are too much into research. I don't know, unless I'm lost, I stand guided.
No, Sharon, you are not lost. In presentation, we have to take you where we are starting from. Then now we come to where we are. Of course, I have time to take you through the nutritional part. So this is just for us to have an
36 minutes past time.
Oh, okay. It's okay. It's okay. So this was actually my presentation is ending here on terms of the overview, because one of the assignment I was given is for us to show the statistics that we are having and how we move forward. So just allow me to finish this, then now we'll jump into the nutrition part so that you might have an idea of how we go through that. So basically, colleagues, that is how the statistics looks like, but I've said this statistics is the numbers could have quite changed, but we have we have different the numbers keep changing because every year we have different statistics coming up. So with that said and done, I think now we get to know where we are, and now it is now proper for us to now look at the nutritional care, especially for cancer. So allow me to share my presentation on the nutritional part, and I was given an assignment to take you through how do we do the nutritional assessment, the nutritional screening, the nutritional how do we interpret those assessments, and later on we'll be able to look at the nutritional care, and most probably, if time allows, because I said this is a huge kind of topic that we can't cover within a day, but we'll just brush off just to give us a highlight of what we expect. So allow me to do. Just give me a few minutes. I project my screen. Okay.
Wizara Donata, your hand is up. Okay, I'm assuming that was an error. Thank you, Kennedy, for the statistics.
So we move on to the next.
Yes.
Okay, I see Leontine Neopizela. Your hand is raised. Do you have something you want to tell us? You're welcome. If you want to say something, Leontine.
Hello, Mumina, am I the one whose network is not working? Because I can't hear.
No, your network is working.
No.
Kennedy is getting ready to have his slides on management. Maybe the Rwanda team can tell us the statistics, if there are statistics in the country, and if they match with us, if it's a really serious burden as it is for us in Kenya, and some of the plans that they have to make sure, and how is the situation there when it comes to like nutrition management as Kennedy gets his...
Mumina.
Yes?
Hello.
I can hear you, Odero.
It is well. I think Kennedy, let's continue. I'll pick from there.
Okay. So just confirm that you can see my screen so that we can move on with the presentation. I don't know if I can try to put it in a slide.
So we see it.
Okay. So, team, as I've said, nutrition and cancer is a broad topic that we cannot cover within the short time that we have, but I'll try to really brush through what I believe is very relevant for us to tackle right now.
Yes, Kennedy, go ahead.
Now, and I think look at nutrition. Yeah, to prepare this to look at nutrition and cancer before, during, and after. The simple question is a cancer a preventable disease? Maybe that is the question I want to ask, and you can give your answers in the chat box so that we can discuss that as we go forward. So, basic concept of cancer. Of course, I've gone through the major statistics, but 5 to 10% of cancers result directly from inheriting genes associated with cancer. So the majority of cancer involve alteration or damage of accumulated over time to the genetic material within the cell. So basically, majorly cancer, if you look at the underpinning science of cancer, mostly it's genetically linked. That means if we have the normal gene mutation, and then during that process, we have oncogenes, which are cancer-causing cells, interfere with the normal gene mutation, then of course there's higher probability of us having cancer. So the causes of damage are both endogenous, which are called internal, and exogenous, which are mostly environmental. So when we talk about endogenous, we'll be looking at the aspect of genetics, the aspect of age, and of course exogenous factors are issues like smoking, are issues of dietary practices. Those are all termed as exogenous. So food, nutrition, and physical activity are important environmental factors in development of cancer. So meaning they can, if we are not careful in matters control, in matters in looking at the dietary practices, in matters looking at the physical inactivity, then those can have an effect. So we call them exogenous factor. So the hallmark of cancer is unregulated cell growth and or cell death. So those are mostly what we expect. So just to give you a viewer concept of what really happened in cancer, it is a whole topic of underpinning science of cancer. So we have cell with accumulated DNA damage and mutations, that is cells which are cancer potential. Then they go to others, they move into the next stage of becoming cancerous, and this is what really happens. So we have growth signal autonomy. So basically cancer cells have what we call they don't have inability to control the growth. So you find they'll continue to grow even after they have reached maturity. On a normal cell, you find the growth will continue, but when the growth come into contact with another cell, then that there's growth inhibition. But for cancer cells, you expect that growth to continue. And of course, we have a version of growth inhibitory signals. So you find that now the cancer cells have ability to penetrate and to the next, to the nearby tissues. A version of apoptosis. Apoptosis basically is tissue death. So cancer cells do not have that ability to die when they have already they will still continue to grow even after their maturity. Unlimited replication, sustained angiogenesis, inversion, and metastasis. So sustained angiogenesis, basically they form their own blood cells, they form their own hormones, and to support their own processes. So basic concept of cancer. So we look at food, nutrition, obesity, physical activity, and cellular processes linked to cancer. So we have food, nutrition at the cycle. So all these have had impact on DNA repair, proliferation, hormonal regulation. So nutrition and physical activity plays a key role. Either poor nutrition will have the impact of causing all these damages, or good nutrition will be able to control all this from happening. So that is how nutrition really plays a key role at the cycle there. So I'll not go deeper into the concept of cell function and obesity, but obesity is one of the key linkage that has been linked with many types of cancer. And the normal functioning of all biological processes depend on availability of substrate and nutrients. So good nutrition, basically appropriate provision of food, as we all know, will able to help us have a normal structure and function. But again, when a person is not suitably nourished, of course, either through under or overnutrition, this impacts the tissue microenvironment comprising both structure and function. So overall, you find that dietary patterns can indirectly influence cell growth and by way changes in general, metabolic, regulatory, and endocrine effects. So this is how basically we look at most of the NCD, non-communicable diseases and nutrition, how that happens. So the prevalence of obesity has doubled globally, looking at 2021 statistics. And again, when that has doubled, basically you look at the aspect of also non-communicable diseases increases. So I'll not be able to do the statistics at this moment because that will really have, will delay us. So let's look at energy excesses, especially overnutrition and cancer. So we find that when energy intake exceeds energy expenditure, the resulting state of nutrient excess can trigger responses in many cell types: endothelium cells, hepatocytes, which are liver cells, myocytes, adipocytes, and macrophages. So nutrient excess.
I want to interrupt. If you are sharing your screen, we can see it.
Okay. Is this true for other people?
Yes. Yes, Kennedy. I can see your screen, but it's not like sharing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know it's usually tough. So let me see if I can put it. Let me try for it to be in a slide, which I know usually has.
Yes, now it's visible, Kennedy.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
My apologies. I've gone far, but I thought it was in my screen. Thank you. So then we proceed. My apologies, but don't worry. I'll share this with Lillian. Also, she'll be able to share with our colleagues from Rwanda, so that you don't miss my presentation. So basically, I've prepared this part of energy excesses and cancer. This is a very important conversation. I know majorly when we talk of cancer cells, cancer and nutrition, most of us, we focus on undernutrition. But again, at the preventative stage, it is important for us to look at the impact of excess in energy or excess in energy versus how that leads to cancer. This is a very important conversation. If time could have allowed us, I could demonstrated how in Kenya we call it nyama choma, has been directly linked with stomach cancer because of that, the preparation method. But now I was explaining that nutrient excess can lead to the production of reactive oxidative species. These are molecules that generated during fuel production by the mitochondria. So excessive production of these molecules create oxidative stress. So basically oxidative stress, we are looking at both the negative and positive cation, which are unoxidized, and this has been linked heavily with causing what you call redox reaction, and this affect the normal gene mutation, and this really has led to many types of cancer. So oxidative stress, which can damage cellular structures and trigger an inflammatory response. And as a nutritionist, this is now where the role of antioxidants play in matters of cancer prevention, in that cancer prevention. So that is what basically we are looking into. So nutrient excess can also impair functioning of endoplasmic reticulum. So I hope it is important for us also, I don't know how our curriculum is in our neighboring country, for us to learn issues to do with anatomy and physiology, because I expect that all of us who are in this platform might have gone through a class of anatomy and physiology for you to understand cancer. Because if you don't do that, then it becomes difficult for you to understand. So that's why you are seeing some terms like endoplasmic reticulum, which is part of the normal cells, one of the component of cells. So it is important for us to do that. So excess nutrients, I'm saying, can also impair the function of endoplasmic reticulum. So endoplasmic reticulum are the ones that are responsible for most of the energy production. So giving a rise to unfolded proteins, which can itself induce inflammation. Remember, for cancer to occur, majorly we find that inflammation has to be present. So the more we prevent the inflammation from occurring, that is the damage of cells, then the better we can prevent cancer. So a third response to nutrient excess is the accumulation of long-chain fatty acetyl coenzyme A molecules driven mainly by fructose, further increasing inflammation. So I know majorly we've advised many of our patients to take more fruits with an assumption that more fruits will not have... Okay, somebody's mic is on. Maybe we mute it so that we don't affect the sound. So the assumption has been that more fruit is good for it, which is okay, but if uncontrolled intake, because nowadays we have fat diets, people are practicing.
Hello, please kindly mute your mic, tafadhali.
Thank you. Yeah. So we are saying that nowadays people practice fat diet, and my colleague Lilian Mumina has been very vocal in advocacy and educating people on just Googling diet on online and start implementing instantly. So you find many of people are on fruit-based diet without like having to incorporate other nutrients. And this, again, we could see that fruit with fructose inside of it, some people adopt honey kind of diet, which are in excesses. And this has been shown to have long-chain fatty acetyl coenzyme A, which further increase inflammation. So that is also something that is of interest to look into. So when you are advising your patient, just advise on better patterns. So inflammation can limit further exposure to nutrients by blocking the action of insulin, the binding of insulin, like insulin growth factor 1 to all that. Data strongly suggests that endogenous hyperinsulinemia may be one obesity-related factor enhancing cancer growth and metastasis. So in women with breast cancers, again, a worse prognosis has been noted in those with higher circulating levels of insulin. So this basically is looking at overall how nutrition and cancer is linked, and this will help us really in matters prevention. Of course, looking at the obesity, of course, that picture again is easier to explain to you what really happens. But majorly, we are looking at oxidative stress, endoplasmic reticulum stress. We are looking at fatty acid metabolite accumulation. All that has an impact on inflammation. Basically, we are going to have metabolic disorder. Lilian had asked me to really expound nutrition and metabolic disorders, and this picture summarizes that. So I'll wind up with that. I know excess and energy excess is a big topic. I don't want to rely heavily on that. These slides have really tackled so many. There's aspect of estrogen and LAT, leptin, adiposity. So as I've said, I'll share this presentation so that we can learn how to allow me to go on energy balance, obesity, and cancer. How many of us are obese? So 34.9% of adults over 20 are obese, which are defined by a BMI of greater than 30. So this one has really had a quite serious issues with cancer. So we have obesity and cancer. Is the new normal? Is this a new normal? Like you could see, impolite as they were, and other, like in the picture you are seeing, basically we are looking at impolite as they were, the other bears could never help staring at Larry's enormous gut. So they are trying to be impolite, but at the end of the day, they couldn't stop. And this is usually the kind of how we view even other obese people in the public. We might try to be so innocent, but deep down we try to admire, to look at their protruded belly. And this again, what rings into your mind is the aspect of cancer. So is there evidence between obesity and increased risk of cancer? I think this I've explained severally, but there is a convincing link of obesity to the following cancers, that is endometrial, colorectal, esophageal, kidney, pancreas, and all that. So nutrition is important here for us to maintain our BMI at the normal range, for us to prevention. So we are looking at prevention at this early phase. So there is a stronger linkage between obesity and also different types of cancer. And that one is already explained. So I'll not go into statistics here because, again, it is not time for us to go through that. But basically, there is a stronger linkage of that. I want to finish up the obesity conversation so that we can look at other issues. So it is quite a long conversation. Now let's look at another important linkage, that is foods, toxins, and cancer. Is there a link? So we are looking at cancer prevention. So we've looked at obesity. It's quite a long topic that I've skipped other parts, but let's not look at toxins, foods, and cancers. So this will help us in matters prevention. What do we target? So let's start with arsenic. So inorganic arsenic is a human carcinogen found in drinking water, and there's a convincing evidence linking arsenic contamination to an increased risk of lung cancer and possibly skin and esophageal cancer. So arsenic is basically found in drinking water, and this one, if the higher content, has been convincingly linked with lung cancer, skin, and basically esophagus cancer. So coffee, I know majority of us love coffee, so there is no convincing evidence that it increases the risk of pancreas or kidney cancer. So right now the evidence is still not so clear to state that coffee has been linked with that. But however, as we are saying, the overconsumption of coffee will definitely linked with other causes, issues that can basically lead to cancer. So as at the moment, there's still no convincing evidence that we can point out, but maybe other studies have found out. Let's look at supplements. So there's a convincing evidence that high-dose beta-carotene supplement in tobacco smokers increases the risk of lung cancer. So if you have quite a higher dose of beta-carotene supplements in tobacco smokers, you'll have a higher risk. It's like a trigger that helps. So no specific vitamin or mineral supplementation is recommended for cancer prevention. We can't say that there's a specific vitamin or mineral that will help in cancer prevention, so that we can be so sure. But again, we are saying supplementation, basically, if you give supplementation of vitamin and minerals, you'll be able to prevent many type of cancer, but we can't say that there's a specific vitamin or mineral that has been convincingly linked with prevention. Processed meat and domesticated red meat. So there's a convincing evidence, this one I had mentioned before, so that there's a convincing evidence for an increased risk of colorectal cancer, and again, also stomach cancer from processed meat. Basically, processed meat, we are looking at the meat that are in matters method of preparation. In Kenya, what we do is take the meat and also put it directly in contact with heat. We call it nyama choma in Kenya, and the method of food preparation has been directly linked with colorectal cancer and even stomach cancer. So there is a stronger evidence on that. Then, of course, alcohol, a very convincing evidence of increased risk of mouth, pharynx, larynx, esophageal, colorectal in men, and breast cancer in women, and liver cancer related to cirrhosis, without distinction as to the type of alcoholic beverage consumed. So it doesn't matter which type of alcoholic beverage you are taking, but there is a stronger, whether you take beer or you take whiskey brand or you take wine, there's quite a stronger evidence to suggest that that one is convincing. So in cancer prevention, these are the kind of discussions you need to have with your patient in matters prevention. So recommendations for cancer risk reduction. So what do we recommend? So what do we do? One, it is really quite simple. We need to eat fewer and more nutritionally dense calories. As we've seen in previous slides, how excesses have been linked with obesity. So it is important that we do fewer and more nutritionally dense calories. Then in many cases, we have replaced 30 to 40% of potential nutritional food with sugar. That is quite the kind of danger that we are having, that a substance is absolutely no nutritional value. In fact, sugar is a chronic toxin. So at the initial first stage, it might not appear as a toxin, but the more you add more sugar into your diet and replace it with nutritionally value, then that is a case that you have. So restriction of energy intake from food is the most effective single intervention for preventing cancer in an experimental animal. So we've seen that if you are able to restrict the energy intake, most probably you target to have obesity prevented, and this also has been linked with better outcome. Another important recommendation that we have is the limit consumption of energy-dense foods and eliminate all sweetened and diet beverages, as well as all fast foods. So these energy-dense foods are those containing 225 to 275 kcal per 100 grams. So these include mostly processed and fast food. So energy-dense processed food and sugary beverages promote weight gain and obesity. So this is another important thing that you need to put into consideration when you look at cancer prevention. The third one is, of course, limit intake of red meat and processed meats. Limit intake. So limit the consumption. Look at the keywords I'm using here, because we have been using some terms incorrectly, like avoid, and of course there are, at a given point you need to use the word avoid, but limitation is quite important, meaning you need to be within a measurable amount. So limit the consumption of domesticated red meat to around 13 oz per week, and try to eliminate all processed meats. So that is very, very important. Then of course limit consumption of alcohol. So if some of our patients might not be able to stop drinking because they are if avoidance is not possible, then limitation is impossible. So it's something you can advise the patient. So no more than 2 drinks per day for men and 1 drink per day for women. Then, of course, we have non-starchy fruits and vegetables. So there's a probable evidence that this protect against cancer of the mouth, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, with limited evidence for protection against lung, colon, endometrial, and ovarian cancer. So that being said, these foods are high in fiber and nutrients and low in energy density, thus being the foundation of any diet. So these are non-starchy fruits and vegetables. Those are the things that you can encourage. Then eat mostly plant-based food. So consume at least 5 servings of non-starchy vegetables. That's around 5 oz daily, as well as 2 servings of fruit, preferably those low in sugar. And example that berries. If eating grains, consume and processed grains, it's important that we can do that. So the ones that are unprocessed. Then nuts and seed, good source of fiber, essential fatty acids and vitamins and minerals. So it is important that you can incorporate that into your diet. Of course, I can't overemphasize the importance of physical activity. So there's a convincing evidence that physical activity protects against colon cancer, and probable evidence that it protects against postmenopausal breast cancer and endometrial cancer. So kindly, it is important that in a week, a patient can have at least 30 minutes of intense physical activity 3 times a week. That is quite advised. But for those who are doing extraneous beyond 30 minutes, who are going at least 1 hour plus, then you can advise them at least not to do endurance exercise again, because they'll still go into energy deficient, and that also can make them either overeat, or sometimes they experience fatigue because of lactic acid accumulation. Then, of course, maintain a lean body mass, that is BMI between 19 to at least 24.9 or 25 from childhood through adults. So as we've seen that cancer is quite directly linked with the obesity, so maintaining that lean body mass is quite important. Then, of course, be physically active, perform some sort of physical activity equivalent to 30 minutes of brisk walking daily. Avoid sedentary activities such as television watching and that. So these are some of the examples you can, nutritional recommendations you can give to your patient. Then, of course, for cancer survivors, you'll follow the recommendation for healthy weight, diet, and physical activity as recommended for cancer prevention. Current evidence suggests that there are health benefits from physical activity during cancer survivorship, with breast cancer survivorship having been the most studied. So I hope other studies will come to look at other areas of cancer. Then, of course, energy balance, obesity, and cancer. So this I've explained. So this is more of science. I would not like to dwell more on that. So basically that informs what my presentation on cancer prevention is concerned, especially when we're looking at diet. So what is the bottom line is that we are too fat. We consume the wrong calories, sugar and refined carbohydrate. We consume too many calories, increased caloric consumption, mainly as refined carbohydrate and sugar. We consume diet rich in calories, but extraordinarily poor in nutrients. We are too sedentary. We want pill to make it go away. This is quite, this point is quite important for me to emphasize that many people now want the easiest way, that even obesity, they want to really take pills for it to go away, leaving diet alone. And this we've seen has not had a better outcome. Actually, some have ended up having again. So it's a cancer. So maybe I don't know if people have gave their outcome.
Kennedy, I don't know if it's me or we have lost you.
You remember when you were starting? Yes?
No, it's okay. Go ahead. We had lost you kidogo, but it's as well.
Kennedy's network is...
Sorry. My apologies. Is it okay now?
Yeah, it's okay. It's good.
Okay. Sorry about that.
It's okay. No problem.
So my question, just a minute. All right. So the question I had asked when I was starting my presentation is if the cancer is a preventable disease. And I don't know the answer people gave, but the resounding answer is yes. So with appropriate dietary intervention, increased exercise, smoking cessation, appropriate vaccination, it has been estimated that up to 60% of cancer could be prevented. So yes, the answer is yes, cancer can be prevented. So that is quite important to do. So that is the closure for this part of my presentation. So Lillian, I don't know, I know we have the remaining parts of assessment and intervention, which again, for interventional part, I think I've taken this. I know we have aspect of parenteral and enteral in nutrition. We have different nutrition assessment. So maybe, I don't know if time will allow us to go through that. But you'll guide me on that.
Maybe just we can do a small break, but because that is the main agenda. We wanted to discuss the nutrition, the role of what a nutritionist does to a cancer patient, and that is basically what we do. I am glad that you have dealt so much on the preventive and the general guidelines, because that is very important, because if we prevent it, we will not have so much work to do in the clinical setup. So maybe, yes, you can actually have like maybe 10 to 20 minutes to go through the medical nutrition therapy. Just be very brief about it, because I also understand that not all cancers are managed the same. Just give us the general guidelines so that our people and our neighbors can actually get something to go home with. And while at it, allow me to take a break for 5 minutes to appreciate our sponsors for the night. We have Team Nutrition, who's a nutritionist, and he also sells therapeutic and supplemental supplements that are also needed or also used for managing cancer. So if you are in Nairobi, Kenya, I will share the link, or even if you're in Rwanda, I'm sure he has a way of getting that to you. So I will share the website and his number for proper consultations and such. So Kennedy, you can continue. You have like 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay. Thank you very much. So I know for some I could be rushing, but allow just I know it's when we are starting. I know the Kunad team will be able to have more of this session. So so that we can sometimes dwell in specific topics. But today, let's just go on the general care for that. So allow me to share my next slide so that we can continue. Mostly now I want to dwell heavily on the nutritional assessment and care for cancer patients. And then now for medical, I can also, during that, I can also discuss something on medical nutrition therapy. Mm-hmm. So Lillian, you'll confirm for me if my screen is visible.
Yes, your screen is very visible. Go ahead.
Okay, thank
10
you.
10 to 15 minutes. Huh?
All right. I'm hiding myself. So, just to give you a kind of a brief, so nutritional care for care for cancer patients is not quite different from other types of nutrition assessment and also nutrition assessment of screening. However, we have some additional things that we look into for cancer patients. For cancer patients, we look at what we call functionality test. Basically, we have what we call ECOG score. So ECOG score is quite important. It's one of the additional things that we add to the nutritional assessment or just for a normal patient. But I'll brush through this, then I'll explain what ECOG score basically means and how it plays a bigger thing. ECOG basically in full is just Eastern Cooperative Oncology Group performance status. So this is very important for cancer patients when we're doing an assessment. And I would also like to say that nowadays we've really transformed. We are moving from the normal BMI to now we are going to technology like full body composition analysis, which gives us the deeper part for that. So on nutrition assessment, basically we look at the food nutrition related history, anthropometric measurement, biochemical data, medical test procedures, nutrition focused physical findings, and of course client history. So these are 5 main domains that we usually look into, or the categories. I'll brush through some of them very fast. So what we need to look at, the same way we are looking at other nutrition assessment for other type of condition or general condition of patient. So for cancer patients, we also have to have clearly defined markers, which are very measurable. So as I've said, traditionally, we've been relying heavily on BMI as a method of determining the status at which that patient is. But right now, for cancer patients, it's quite not so accurate to use BMI because, again, we have different internally. You find that patient has lost serious muscle mass. So full body composition or analysis is much important. Will give you an accurate way to help that kind of patient. Then of course we look at food and nutrient intake. So for cancer, basically what you are going to look into here is pre, post, and during cancer care. So basically at pre, you want to look at how this patient has been eating. Of course, that is the diet history will be able to help you to come up, understand how this patient was eating before they have the cancer part of it. Then now, of course, during cancer treatment or at admission, you'll do 24-hour diet recall to be able to, and food frequency questionnaire will be able to guide you on how the patient is eating. Majorly, what you need to focus on is the patient able to take 60% of the food that has been recommended or the food that they are taking. 60%. If that is the case, then if they do more than 60%, then you can see how can we do the supplements. I wish I could have gotten time to show you the flowchart, how that goes into, but for the sake of today, I'll be able to just limit myself to this slide. Then, of course, we have medication use. So this is a very important aspect. Medication use, cancer drugs have direct impact on nutritional intake. And this is something that within the next 2 minutes of my presentation, I'll share just with you on on the side effect of chemotherapy and what the nutritional impact that they have. Of course, we have growth and body composition. That is what I was talking about. Quite a very important tool that we now use. Food and nutrition related knowledge, attitudes and behaviors, food access. This is also a very important thing that a nutritionist should be able to have in mind. Physical activity, anthropometric data, laboratory values, quite important. So for cancer, we'll dig deeper into the different lab measurements. For example, we'll be able to look at C-reactive protein. What does it show us, and all that. Then we also have physical findings, observed or reported, personal and family medical history, and social factors. So these are some of the indicators that you need to ask your patient. So as assessment, the information that you require from that patient. Then, of course, that is under nutritional assessment. Then, of course, under nutritional diagnosis, just the same way we apply the normal PES statement, even for cancer patient, it plays a key role. That is the problem, etiology, signs and symptoms is quite important steps that we use. Remember, we are not managing the medical condition. We are managing the nutritional condition. I know majority of my colleagues who really consult sometimes ask, I have this patient with the stomach cancer, how do I manage them? So sometimes it becomes difficult to explain to them because, stomach cancer is majorly a medical condition. But I would love to, if you ask me that, Okinda, I've done my nutritional assessment to this patient, this is my nutritional diagnosis. Of course, the primary treatment we are looking at stomach cancer. But again, my nutritional findings are this and this. Now guide me on how to manage this patient. So rather than telling me that, how do I manage a patient with stomach cancer? You see, that becomes more of a difficult situation. So I'll advise that we do serious medical, nutritional assessment so that we come up nutritional specific diagnosis, which is usually put in PES statement. Then, of course, so for PES statement, of course, we have the problem, etiology, signs and symptoms. I know majority of you might have interacted with this, but in case it is not, it is something that we can always have time to look in depth. Of course, etiology, basically, what causes the disease, the problem itself, you can have beliefs, attitudes, cultural knowledge, physical function, so we have the aspect of physiological, social, personal, for the access, behavior, and all that. So the three general domain, there's some of the terminology that you can use is intake, which can be excessive or inadequate intake compared to the required. You have the clinical, you have medical or physical conditions that are outside normal behavior, and all that you can take into advantage. Then for intervention, basically for intervention, let me look at if I have a case study that will be able to help us.
Teams, your hand is up. Maybe you have something to say as Kennedy looks for the study. Teams. Okay, it was an error.
So I just want to, it is actually my last. If you allow me, I want to present to you, to share with you some of the case study. I usually do it, so that can be a point of discussion actually. So that I don't be more of generic. We can talk of the practical aspect. So Lillian, give me just 1 minute. I trace some case study here.
Sawa, no problem. So as I said when we started, if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you have not reserved with your email address or the email address you gave is not functional, you might not be able to get your hands on these amazing presentations. So,
can you hear me, Lilian?
Yes, yes, Teams, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm happy for this activity. And we are going to have many of these. I'm glad that we have good numbers, and thank for Kunad for coming up with this initiative, because our members really need to learn. But unfortunately, I can see that most of us have been locked out because this version is giving up to 100 members only. But going forward, I'm going to have a version that is going to allow everybody. So as Umina and explained, as this is going on, I'm going to realize that you really need a supplement at some point so that you can meet the requirement for these patients, because most of them don't have appetite to meet oral intake via the normal diet. And I hope that most of you have interacted with us either through the website or buying product directly. We are going to support you to make sure that you get the supplement in Nairobi within 2 hours, and outside Nairobi within 24 hours or less, and in Africa and other countries within 5 days or 3 days. So our website is teamsnutrition.co.ke, or you can reach us through 2734 370 427. I don't think I have much, but we are going to be interacting in these sessions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, teams. Thank you, teams. As you have heard, to help our patients meet their dietary demands, we need supplements and therapeutic feeds, and teams provides that for us in Kenya. So Kennedy has his case study showcasing. So
basically, William, this is my last presentation, so it will summarize what I was to present on the other slide, just for us to follow this. And I like that teams have been helpful for me with my patient, and I hope everybody will get time. So this is my last presentation. It summarizes what I wanted to teach, to present. So this is a patient I had managed in my facility. So this patient is a CMK, that is the IP number. Date of admission was that, age of 60. And the source of my data was, of course, the patient file and family member. So you could see I'm following the nutritional care process. So why this case is important is this was a known cancer of stomach, gastric cancer with severe case of malnutrition. So allow me to delete this so that we don't have the name. So this is a patient who was referred from PGH, where he has been on follow-up for stomach cancer, diagnosed 3 years ago. So the patient has been unwell and has had several hospital admissions with no improvement. So that is basically the major issues. The major reasons for referral to our facility was lack of bed. However, the patient had the below chief complaints. So there was severe dehydration, there was invisible wasting, there was inability to feed. Of course, this has been secondary to the CS stomach. In the past medical admission, this was the first admission. The patient had no history of surgical operation, no food and drug allergy, no known history of chronic illnesses, i.e. diabetes and hypertension. So family socioeconomic history, this patient was married to one wife whom he is living with, stopped smoking and alcohol intake 3 years ago, and also works as a casual laborer. So this information is important for you because they'll help you in managing that patient well. So vital signs at admission. So the temperature was 36.2 degrees, blood pressure of 112/58, pulse rate of 81 beats per minute, and saturation at 96. So this was a patient who fairly had a better vital signs at admissions. So on systemic examination, this is nutritional specific examination. So our patient has a visible was wasted, severe pallor, there was no jaundice, no cyanosis, was severely dehydrated. Then clinically, there was no fever. On abdominal examination, there was obvious swelling originating from left hypochondria towards umbilical area. The patient was able to pass stool well, so there was no issue of constipation. The liver was okay, so there was no hepatomegaly or splenomegaly. So these are nutritional specific clinical assessment that I did for this patient. So on head examination, basically I was looking, we had well-distributed hair, which was black in color. Hair is non-clickable. Then also on the eye, there was severe pallor, no signs of bitot spot, vitamin A deficiency, and the eye was definitely sunken. On the mouth, there was no angular stomatitis or cheilitis, no soreness, burning sensation of the lips, tongue is non-swollen, no indication of oral thrush, gums are normal, no gingivitis, no swollen, spongy, or retractable gums. On teeth, it was well distributed, so no missing teeth. I know most of nutritionists overlook this assessment, and that's why I took this time to really present this case study for us to see what specifically do we need to look at, because some of our nutritionists forget to ask, is the teeth there? Do they have artificial teeth or they don't have? And then they prescribe a diet which basically the patient will not be able to eat. So when you come back, you find the food that you prescribe is still by patient's bedside, because you fail to observe or even to ask. So the nails, there was no signs of colotia, which usually is a spoon-shaped concave, so that also had a nutritional effect. The lungs, there were normal vesicular breath sounds, so there were no issues of breathing. On cardiovascular, no lower pitching edema. The heart sounds were normal. There was no murmur, no palpitations on pulse examination. So on medical diagnosis, there was a severe dehydration in a newly diagnosed gastric adenocarcinoma patient. And then some of the investigation we did, albumin, of course, I'll pick nutritional specific investigation. So albumin was at 27.4, which was grams per liter, which was low. Total protein 53.1, low. Sodium was 141.6, potassium 3.75, creatinine 76.2, urea of 2.02, and HB of 5.7. MCV, MCH, and MCHS were all low. So imaging, it is important that for cancer patients, you do this. This is very important. So imaging, the OGD was done that shows generalized tumor of the whole stomach from the cardia to pylorus. So tumor noted at the GE function. I know somebody is asking, why did you put this here? This is very important for me because I already know where the tumor is within the stomach. This is going to help me. Like for this patient now, is the tumor is at the GE, gastroesophageal junction. Basically, it means that the whole stomach is blocked. So I start figuring out if this patient, we are going to feed them via jejunostomy or that, or we are going to insert a tube here. Because again, if the upper part of the stomach is blocked, so it is important for us to have this investigation. Then, of course, biopsy was done, which shows poorly differentiated gastric adenocarcinoma. Abdominal ultrasound shows spatters of hepatoma, pelvic ascites, and duodenitis. So you could see also those other complications. We were waiting CT scan, abdomen and chest for staging. So anthropometrical assessment, that is what we had. Weight of 42, height of 168, BMI of 16.8, ideal body weight we estimated to be at 65 kg. Then on treatment history, of course, the patient was on fluid, normosaline alternated with 5% dextrose. These are the medications that the patient was on. On dietary assessment, the patient lacks appetite and has problems swallowing as a result of tumor at the pylorus and chronic pain. The patient consumes less grains and rarely eats fruits. He has tried on numerous occasions to use appetite stimulant without success, and this has led to his seldom eating coupled with his depression. This has resulted in his growing thin. So that is the history I was taking. The patient rarely exercises. His mobility has been reduced to within the house, between his bed, chair, and window. So this is what I was talking about, what we call ECOG score, because this is functionality score, which is quite important for us to take ECOG score. So you could tell that our patient was quite immobile. Then, of course, he responded positively to having less than normal food intake, stating that he has eaten less than before. However, I could not recall his 24-hour diet record since he was a referral from another facility. So my nutritional diagnosis, I came up with around 4. You can have multiple nutritional diagnoses. It's not necessarily you have one. So one was inadequate dietary intake related to difficulty.
Okinda, kindly summarize. So that we give other time.
Yeah. So these are the nutritional diagnoses. So,
So we give the rest of the presenters time.
Perfect. I'm done. So what I wanted to do is just the nutritional intervention. So this is how I usually do my nutritional interventions. I usually have the nutrition diagnosis of problem, the nutritional goal, the nutritional intervention, and possible outcome. This is what I anticipated. So basically, that is how I usually do my care process for my patient. I think up to that point, I might end my presentation because of time. Thank you very much. Back to you, Lilian.
Thank you, Okinda, and we are looking forward to having that case study so that we can go through it. That was a very well elaborate presentation. We appreciate you for that, and we appreciate for what you have done. It's really, really good, and we're looking forward to further engagements on the same, because cancer is very broad and very dynamic, and we are looking forward to better management strategies for our patients. Asante sana. Once again, we appreciate you for that.
I'm sorry, I'm overstretched.
No, it's okay. Sometimes it's also allowed, because what you are giving is value, and we appreciate the value that you came with. Asante sana.
Thank
Now, back to our presentation. We have one more presenter. The SG is going to take us through. Now, how do we do what Okinda has told us? Because now he has given us what we are supposed to do as nutrition professionals. Now the SG is going to guide us on how to do that. He's also going to talk about some of the challenges, and I'm sure some will be a repetition, but it is always good to learn. And as noted, all those will be shared. And we have some few questions in the chat box, Okinda, for you. So as the SG goes ahead with his presentation, kindly also plan on engaging on that, and then hopefully we'll be done by 9. Odero, are you ready?
Yes, Mumina, I'm going to take less than 15 minutes. Can you hear me? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I don't want to be very repetitive. And again, when we take so long, I know most of our concentration level will go down. So let me start by acknowledging the two sponsors of the event, that is Teams Nutrition, who has just spoken. And I also acknowledge Situma, who is part of our National Executive Committee, who also chipped in sponsoring the event. And of course, our friends and brothers. I gave them a very short notice from Rwanda. And Adrian and Mr. President really acted very fast. Of course, I also invited our sister from Nigeria, Gift, who is also amid us. And we thank you for being part of the nutrition team. Mine is to summarize everything. And I want to make it very brief for us. Mumila, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Mumila, yes, I want to summarize and make it very brief. One of the reasons why we are bringing these webinars and we are going to be interacting much on a monthly basis is because we want to make entire East Africa and Africa have a uniform way of managing patients when dealing with nutrition. And it is also an opportunity for us to interact and see how various countries are doing their things so that we can copy and learn from one another from various areas. And I also want to appreciate Kennedy Okinda, our elder brother, who is hands-on when it comes to matter of dealing with cancer patients and nutrition, because he is actually currently counted among the pioneers of nutrition in the country. Let me go straight to the key things I want to do. I want to do 4 things very fast. I am mandated to check through roles of nutritionists in managing cancer, challenges affecting nutritionists, proactive approaches of nutritionists in bringing cancer to an end, and of course, a little bit of the global East African and Kenyan burden, which was initially done by Okinda, and I will just brush through that. Now, to be very specific, roles of nutritionists in managing cancer, I have looked at my notes and I've categorized them into 3 the first role is in the assessment, dietary planning, and at different cancer care points, which is part of what Okinda was doing. That is the part of we have diagnosis, which is what is taking us through, and then after diagnosis, we have the treatment. Of course, various medical treatments will affect nutrition differently, and the last one is recovery and survivorship phase. So those are the three key functional areas under assessment and nutrition care process in cancer. Of course, for diagnosis, Okinda has wonderfully done it. You have to check those parameters and deal with them as they are. And I will only overemphasize the comprehensive nutrition assessment, which is very key. And then for treatment phase, we have mostly when we are on cancer treatment, we eat surgical treatment, immunotherapy, we eat radiotherapy, we eat chemotherapy. It comes with different response into nutrition need. So those are also the areas we need our nutritionists to look through. For example, when somebody is in a treatment which leads to which will need dietary modification, how best do you go about that? Do they need soft diet, and what leads to that? So those you need to check under them. And then we don't need to leave them post-treatment. We have to go with them to recovery and then follow on to their lifestyle. And of course, that is where Okinda was emphasizing on things to do with lifestyle modification, promoting physical activity and all of that. And then, of course, the second role of nutritionist is something to do with nutrition education as a preventive strategy for metabolic disorders and also other professionals. One, we must be advocates of healthy diet and dietary patterns. And of course, after that, Okinda talked well about reducing overprocessed, increasing fiber and all that. So those are key areas we need to look at as nutritionists. And the third role is on the community health initiatives.
Odero, we have lost you. Hello?
So, Lillian, can you hear? I think Odero, maybe his network has had issues, or he's back. Odero, are you back? Your network was...
Odero, we have lost you. Okay.
We're still, yeah. Okay.
As we wait for Odero, Kennedy, make sure you share with us the case study. It was very comprehensive. I wish we had more time to go through.
Hello?
Odero, we had lost you.
Mumina, where did you lose me?
We lost
Hello,
you.
Mumina.
Yes, hapo kwa role of nutritionist in community health initiatives. Or the
Yes,
community
that is where I was talking about collaboration. Collaboration into campaigns and with NGOs, government agencies, which will help us do campaigns and also influence policymakers, school-based wellnesses to ensure the nutrition role in cancer management reaches the ground. Now, the second thing I was supposed to look at is more of challenges faced by nutritionists, both in Kenya, East Africa, Africa, and globally. One of the common challenges is the understaffing. And of course, we know WHO recommendation says for every 1,000 hospital beds, we need to have one nutritionist, which is not applicable all over the world. In fact, it is only in US where it is working, not in Asia, not in Europe, not in Kenya, not in Africa, but it is part of the advocacy frameworks we are putting to ensure it happens. And we are coming together both from Rwanda, Kenya, Nigeria, to put pressure onto the policymakers to ensure that policy and guideline is followed. Of course, the second challenge in cancer and nutrition is we don't have standardized guidelines. I know in Kenya, when we are in clinical setups, we use Aspen, and sometimes WHO recommendations, which majority of them either don't marry or are not patient-based. Most of them are community-based. So that's another challenge we are facing. Another challenge is poor coordination in multidisciplinary approach. We have so many people who are supposed to be partakers in cancer management: nutritionists, clinical officers, AMOs, oncologists, but there's that lack of coordination, and there's need now to start thorough advocacy on multidisciplinary advocacy so that we have a control system of managing cancer. We have limited continuous professional education, and this one is actually what we are doing here. As Kunad, we started it away some years back, and when we continued, we didn't have a good framework. We are reviving it. We want to do continuous medical and professional education in various areas, and this is just the beginning. This month we have started. Next month we'll do it. We are already partnering with Wakina Teams, Nutrition, Situma, and we'll ensure every time we have them, we share across board so that we have continuous professional development, which will enhance the capacity of our nutritionists to run their clinics and even their wards better. Now, other than that, the third area was to look at is the proactive measures for nutritionists. And under my proactive measures, one, we must put a lot of gear on our advocacy and lobbying. That is the primary measure we need to put. And of course, we are starting as Kunad in Kenya. We have been doing activities in nutrition. We are running up after the government. Even as I'm speaking this evening, I've just signed a notice for strike. We need to lobby and do a lot of advocacy for the stakeholders and policymakers to understand roles of nutritionists in not only in cancer but various diseases. We are grateful as a country that we have KNDI, which will regulate the standards. Kunad will do the advocacy and running up and down for professional welfare. Nutrition Association of Kenya is also doing good when it comes to other training and all that. And we are just starting, and we are very sure we are going to continue putting more pressure for those to happen. So one is advocacy and lobbying, and we are going to do targeted advocacy and lobbying towards the policymakers. Now, another proactive approach is proactive measure we are going to put is proactive approach in cancer care. You realize that one of the reasons we have this webinar is because we were celebrating. There was the World Cancer Day a few days ago, and there were a lot of talks which are not teamed up towards nutrition management of cancer. And these talks only end during these occasions. Now, we want to create a system where we can be vibrant throughout Africa so that every time is a cancer talk time so that we create awareness. This is going to help us seek health services early and seek early screening so that we can identify cases early, because one of the reasons why there are high death cases in Africa and in Kenya and East Africa is because these cases, we get to know them very, very late. So it is important that we realize we do a lot of advocacy around cancer continually. And then the third thing is we want to partner with people like our elder brother Ukinda into research education, so that we have harmonized policy documents around cancer, and then community engagement and public awareness. Those are other areas we are really looking to focus on. And therefore, we are calling upon the Rwandese team, the Nigerian team, and the entire East Africa. We want to make it an habit that every time is a talk time on nutrition, management and prevention of various diseases. And mostly, Okinda did say something very important, that currently we are overburdening our hospitals with the non-communicable diseases. In 2 years ago, it was 50-50 affairs. It was for every 2 patients, 1 patient is having a non-communicable disease and the other one is having communicable disease. The latest research say it is now 53% non-communicable diseases. That means non-communicable diseases is overburdening our healthcare system. And at some point, we'll have a break point where almost 100% of the patient will be from non-communicable diseases. And that is posing a very dangerous initiative on our healthcare system. So that is another thing that we are going to continually engage one another and see to it that we take keen care of that. Now, I want to briefly go into the global burden. Of course, just in 5 minutes time, I should be stopping. In 2020 alone, we had over 10 million deaths associated with cancer worldwide. And according to global cancer burden, in 2022, we had 19.3 million new cases of cancer. That is how bad the world is doing in terms of cancer infection or the cancer cases in the world. Allow me come to the East Africa, where we are part. East Africa is not doing well either. Like in 2023, we had 150,000 new cases of cancer in East Africa. And out of those, we had 120,000 deaths related to cancer in Africa. And of course, the leading cancer cases are breast cancer, prostate, esophageal, colorectal, and cervical cancer. And of course, for Kenya, Okinda did well. There's somebody who is not muted. Please mute your mic. In Kenya, that is, I've done global East Africa, and of course in Kenya, yearly, like in 2023, we had 47,000 new cases, which also resulted in 27, that was 47,000, and we have 27,000 deaths. That was in 2023 alone. And of course, these numbers are increasing each year. 80% of cases of cancer in Kenya are diagnosed at very late stages, very late as 3rd stage. And of course, in distribution, in terms of Kenya, breast cancer is at 16% of total cases, cervical cancer 13%, prostate cancer at 9%, esophageal cancer at 6%, and of course the rest follow down. Of course, my parting shot will be, cancer is a global menace or a global problem that we need our collective minds together and see how it can be curbed. And nutritionists play a very vital role that all of us need to sit and look through and ensure we prevent what we can prevent. And of course, part of prevention is early diagnosis, so that we can get early diagnosis, and at early diagnosis, we know treatment can be done. So that is my parting shot. And I wish us well. We are going to continuously engage. I am in contact with the president of Society of Nigeria. I'm also in contact with the president of Society of Uganda Nutrition. And of course, now we are already talking to the Rwandese team, and we are going to try and continually engage so that we can have harmonized management systems across Africa where we can share notes and speak one language. Thank you very much, and back to moderators.
Thank you. Asante sana Odero. That was very elaborate. Now, back to our presenters. As I said, if you have any questions, you type them in the chat box. So allow me to ask the questions that are already here, then we can have the presenters answer them. So the first comment was, Okinda, kindly remember to share this case study together with the other slides. Very informative. That is okay. And then there was Ruth. Ruth Muya said, how do we address obesity in a patient who already has cancer, considering the disease might lead to involuntary weight loss? That's the first question. And as you plan to respond to Ruth, there's also another question. Lamek asked, in what stage of cancer management is feeding being stopped in palliative care, and why are we stopping? And then, the other one is, of course, the case study, and for the Rwandese. So maybe you can take in those two questions, and if you have any questions, karibu sana daktari. There's Dr. Munezero Lidi. She's a medical officer in pediatric hemato-oncology department, CHUK. I am assuming it's in Rwanda. Welcome and feel at home. Over here, we welcome all healthcare workers. So Okinda, you can kindly respond on that as we await any other questions. If you have a burning question on cancer management when it comes to nutrition, or your roles, or how you can actually approach the multidisciplinary approach of managing cancer, this is a good time to ask the question so that you can get clarity on how you're supposed to carry yourself out there. So I don't know if Okinda is still in.
Yes, I'm still here. So just to pick one of the questions that has been asked is pertaining palliative care and nutrition. So what we usually say is that at what point do we stop nutritional care? So basically, you look at the life expectancy. Of course, we look at the survival period. Usually, for those which are 6 months survival kind of thing, or maybe they are left with 6 months based on the medical care, especially for those patients with advanced disease. We don't really advocate for parenteral feeds for such patients because, again, the benefit is not there. So you don't really to do aggressive and serious intervention for such patients. So really, for patients who have less than 6 months to live, based on the estimation, then you don't expose those patients to parenteral feeding. Enteral feeding is usually the advocated channel that we can use. So we don't stop nutritional care because, again, even in palliative care, we need to provide nutritional support until the last point. But again, the nutritional care that we are going to give, we are not going to be aggressive. I've seen some of my colleagues who really go further to recommend parenteral feeds, especially central line and even peripheral. You can do partial parenteral feeding, which may be single bottles, but you don't need to be very aggressive by doing even a 3-chamber bag on a central line. You really cause more harm to that patient than good. So in that case, then we don't stop nutritional care, but you still continue to provide because this is still a supportive care until the last day of life. But again, you don't be so aggressive. Looking at also the finances of that kind of the relatives of the patient. So again, it's important also for us to have disclosure. I know it is usually hard, but it is important for us as the initial care of point of care. We have a discussion with caretakers of the patient for us to have a comprehensive disclosure, telling them this is what we expect, and so that the relatives do not really, sometimes the patient is brought to us with an hope that we are going to reverse the disease. And I don't know if majority of you have experienced it, but this is what I experience daily, that this patient has been traveling in other areas with other doctors. Then later on, when they recognize that this patient is not going to survive, then they toast it to nutritionists, whom now is expected to resuscitate the patient, which many a times we don't have the capacity to do that. So that answers Lamekotieno's question. For slides, of course, with case presentation, I'll share with Lillian to be able to assist with that. Lillian, which other question was? Did I forget?
There was a concern about managing obesity.
Oh yes. For cancer patients.
Yes, for a cancer patient who's already experienced, who's expected to experience catabolic losses.
Okay. So for cancer patients, majorly what we look into is what we call sarcopenic obesity. So sarcopenic obesity is one of the key missed diagnosis that we have for majority of cancer patients, especially those who are also admitted in the ICU setup. So what we usually do, you need to target the muscles heavily, and you find many people tend to cut down on for example, on protein. So the advice is feed that patient as long as they can feed them, because again, even if they are obese and they have cancer, your focus should not be on managing obesity, because this patient will end up having sarcopenic obesity where they have lost serious muscles and yet they only have fat accumulation. So you need to continue providing. Of course, the calculations now differs. For example, patients with obesity, if you are doing calorie calculation, you can go lower in terms of calorie, but protein you can maintain the higher amount. Again, we advocate that you can use what we call adjusted body weight. And then after adjusted body weight, then you come to ideal body weight. Then, of course, you target the normal weight. But mostly we target the muscle, so you provide adequate proteins for that patient. Don't fear that obesity will have the impact. So for that, again, you use adjusted body weight. Where it's closer to overweight or obesity, then you come to ideal body weight. But remember, calculations now needs to go lower for energy intake. But again, you go higher for the protein. I think that has really answered that question.
Yes, that is well answered. I hope the question asker is ametosheka. Apologies. Now, there's another one who says he or she wanted the presenter to point on foods which are restricted for patients with the different types of cancers. And there's another one from David, who's asking, kindly, why can't we have nutritional, cardiac, and cancer campaign days like other cadres of health normally do, which can sound so loudly to many people at large? I think we have them in Kenya, but Kennedy, you can confirm, you can answer that. And
yeah. And maybe Odero also will chip in on the second one, on the advocacy part. So basically, the first question was talking about. I've missed it. Oh my goodness! Let me just go back. So now dietary restriction. Now I need to be very clear on this, because many of nutritionists have made patients suffer. That's why you look at my case study, I've been able to pinpoint even the diagnostics, the imaging, and even biopsy. Because if a patient is in stage 4 disease, kindly, my colleagues, restriction is not advocated for that patient. Because what is the goal of treatment? So if a patient is in, let's say, stage 4 cancer, meaning it has spread to other organs, why do you restrict intake? Because if you restrict intake, what is your goal? Because we've seen patients who are in stage 4 disease, but now they have been told to avoid literally everything. So in real sense, we end up causing more harm to that patient than good. So personally, on my kind of care for my patient, if it is a stage 4 and it has spread to other organs, and the patient is able to eat orally literally everything, I don't talk about restriction. My aim is for this patient to have as adequate as possible. So restriction in that case do not suffice. But again, let's look at stage 1, stage 2 disease, or for those patients we are talking about survivorship. Then of course you need to be more specific. For example, if you look at breast cancer, the soy-based product might be restricted for this patient because of the linkage with estrogen hormones, and there you can start talking about restrictions. Of course, the aspect of caffeine and also binding the nutrients, that is when you can look at traditional experience in Africa. Personally, I can't talk of nutrients to be avoided for such kind of patients.
Yeah, and also Elizabeth Ndunge has said she thinks for TPN, indication for patients with inoperable GIT obstructions and towards end of life, TPN can be administered. I think if there is no any ways of any other forms of feeding.
Yes, I totally agree. But again, as I've said, important to note is we need to look at the cost versus the benefit, because yes, TPN is okay, but for that now you can even go for single bottles rather than doing the three chamber bag. Because again, single bottles you can even administer it via the peripheral line. Remember, if already we are having end of life kind of thing, and you still do let's say aggressive 3-chamber parenteral nutrition for such patient, could have outcomes of complications of that. So for me personally, this is just personal idea, opinion that I'm giving, that again, looking, if you already know that we are end of life, and looking at now the costing of this, let's say for example, 3-chamber bag, in Kenya we costed around 7,000 per bag, averagely 4,000 to 7,000 per bag, then is it really something that you can advocate for the patient? Of course, if they are able to afford, then you can go into that line. But for me, I rather do the single bottles for such kind of condition for end of life, so that I don't really give more hope. Because again, go aggressively on 3-chamber bag, patient that this will help to reverse the disease. Yet it is practically not possible to do that. Yeah, but again, you can give that. Thank you.
And
Hello,
yes.
Vivian.
Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask 2 questions. So I would have typed in the chat box, but because there is something I want just to explain about these questions, that's why I wanted to just jump in and ask them verbally. There is, I want to ask Okinda about the usage of fertilizers, because this is something that people normally talks about it in different ways, and when it comes to the policy perspective, you find that we are the professionals and the team they are antagonizing because of lack of clear information about it. Some of the people say that using fertilizers, using other agricultural inputs may be the factors for cancer, and others. And when you look into some other papers, they say that the fertilizers and other agricultural inputs, they are not harm in terms of causing cancer. So as a researcher who has gone extra mile in terms of cancer, I want to hear from him about the how is it to him. And again, he has just mentioned about the alcohol consumption, where he said that maybe 2 drinks to men and 1 drink to women might be relatable to people, to some people, to people. So I want to listen from him in scientific perspective. Is it really true? If it is true, where can we get this reference? Because when you look at into the WHO recommendation so far, they say there is no safest amount of alcohol, and it is totally restricted to people. So, and from his presentation, there is where he has mentioned that so we can just have those amounts. It seems to be that those amounts are safe. So I want to listen from him about to this point. Thank you. Maybe I will have another time to talk. Talking about there is something that you had asked me before in the before about the context in Rwanda. I will, if the time allows, I will just take 3 to 4 minutes to just share with you about the context in Rwanda. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Of course, that is very much welcome. Okinda, maybe you can respond to his concerns.
Yeah, sure. So I totally agree with you, Kamanzi, that indeed there is no safest amount of alcohol that is recommended as far as cancer is concerned. We were just looking at a category of patients or category of our clients who already are in a, for example, in a serious alcohol kind of consumption, and now you are at a point of now. Of course, the major thing is to link this patient to a cessation program so that they can be helped to really totally avoid alcohol intake. But my kind of the recommendation, of course, there is usually a very recommended amount, especially for intake of alcohol, especially for those who are not already having cancer, for those who already are serious alcoholics and they come for your advice. But I totally agree with you that the ideal way is totally to avoid alcohol, because alcohol has been directly linked with specific types of cancer. But now you are looking at patients who already are chronic alcohol users, and now you are trying to advise them to come low as you link them up to the cessation programs or rehabilitation programs. Those are the patients now the amount you can help them via amount. But the ideal way is to try to avoid. Remember, if you tell them to avoid it immediately without them going through the rehabilitation process, then just know that you are going to have alcohol withdrawal syndromes. That those are, again, very serious issues to manage. But what you need to do, of course, as the initial phase of advising is amount as they reduce, and then you link them up for rehabilitative purposes. Now, coming to your second question on fertilizer, the use of fertilizer and cancer, of course, this is an area I want to admit I've not really looked deeper into it, but I can't really give facts about whether it has had direct cause of cancer or not, because indeed it is an area I've not studied and I've not read papers on it. So I think it is an area of research gap that I can explore. Of course, if we can work with, of course, the food, the team in the food science area or public health, nutrition, and also in the areas of agriculture, we can look into it. But mostly my studies have focused heavily on clinical setup in their clinical, in the hospital setup. So, but it's an area I can explore. So I can't really give facts about this because I've not really studied it more. I think that can help. But anybody in the platform is free to give, those who have done something on that. For the last question, maybe on the advocacy, Nutritional Days. So Kenya, really, we've advanced in matters marking this World Nutritional Days, or in partnership with other colleagues. Like now, in August, first week, we have breastfeeding and all that. So, like, even if we have cancer and cardiovascular conditions, we are part of the team that also do that. I know as a nutrition, we've not really done it on our
Kennedy, we have lost you.
Like in matters of, I think it's your network, Lillian.
Okay, no problem.
So
no, we lost you, Kennedy.
Oh, sorry about that. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Oh, sorry about that. So I was just winding up and saying that I know Dero and Lillian are working hard to bring more partners on board, so we can, as a nutrition fraternity and dietitian, we can have us marking these days on our own without also being incorporated with other multidisciplinary teams, because again, our work usually is not well seen. But ideally, we've made strides, but it is baby step. I know the Kunad team are working hard, and in future we'll have our own. If we have World Cancer Day, we can have nutritionists doing their own activities on their own, having advocacy platforms that can also support. Otherwise, thank you very much.
Thank you. Odero, you have heard, we need to be guided on that.
Of course. We have been doing a little bit, and I think we are advancing, and we'll continue doing what we are supposed to do, to explore beyond borders and within the borders, to do the best we can. It is a discussion. The issue of calendar. It's already a discussion I had initiated with the Dr. K of KNDI, and very soon we may be running a lot of events on our own. we still have a little challenges at the MOH, but it is a discussion I'm already having with Dr. We will discuss it at some point. Thank you, Mumina.
Okay, asante sana. So it's assured we are working on it. You've heard from the SG, so all will be well. Those of us who have their hands raised, maybe I can allow you to unmute and ask your questions if they are not typable. But someone has also come to my inbox and raised a concern on nutrient and nutrient drug interactions for the various cancer treatments, and the importance of us as professionals, as clinical nutritionists, to be aware of those interactions, because we cannot have an effective medical nutrition therapy without taking care of the interactions. Maybe going forward in the near future, we can also have a discussion solely on the nutrient and nutrient drug interactions for the various cancer management and treatment therapies. So I don't know if anyone has a question. We are way past time. We are 10 minutes past time. Those who have raised their hands or anything to add, or someone has a concern that we have not addressed.
Mumina,
yes.
Mumina, President Private had something to say from Rwanda about the figures in Rwanda. Kindly give him time to say something before we go into the general comments.
Okay, sawa. I'll allow him. Sorry, apologies for that. It slipped my mind. You're allowed. Go ahead.
Thank you. I will not take too much. I just want to first acknowledge the efforts that has been made by Kenya. And I want to congratulate Kennedy, the organizer, Odilo Mike, for organizing this event. It is very interesting. I think this is the beginning, and we are going to work together to organize even more events and engage as the bigger team, the other healthcare professionals, such that whatever we do, it has to be engaging. And again, as I have said, I just want to share with you about the context in Rwanda, the progress Rwanda has tried to make about in terms of cancer management. As Kennedy Okinda presented before, you have a very good established framework in which cancer can be controlled. It falls in the priorities of the country. It is under you have the policies, and the policies accommodates even the interventions to address the cancer. And I want to share with you that even in Rwanda, we are on right track. We have made a good progress. As you have the national NCD strategic plan, we also have it. And it is not just to be having a document filed and stamped somewhere. The document is operational. We are currently having developed guidelines for cancer management. And there is also a Rwanda National Cancer Control Plan. It was launched in 2020. It is a 4-year plan from 2020. It is a 5-year. It has been a plan from 2020 to 2024. We are currently revising it to have a new one. Cancer control has been in the priorities of our country. When you look into the National Strategy for Transformation, NST2, it has put a NCD control and management in a priority, and cancer is part of the NCDs that has been put in the plan to control and prevent, but also manage in the people who have cancer. So in terms of figures, we are almost like other countries in our region in East Africa. But something I have realized a bit different from Kenya is that when you look into the figures, somewhere the Kennedy had presented, when you look into the figures in Kenya, it seems that men are affected more than women. But when you look at into the data in Rwanda, females are the one that are affected compared to men. Maybe is because of is because of the specific cancers that are attributed to men, like breast cancer. We are having a very high number of breast cancer in cases in our community. Maybe it might be the reason as to why women in Rwanda are much affected, are highly affected compared to men. The common cancers we have in Rwanda are the breast cancer in the females, but also few cases in men. Cervical cancer, although there is a good progress of vaccinating, but these cancers, cervical cancers, are also monitored have been detected and are also common in the cancers among the women. In Rwanda, when you look at into the male, prostate cancer is very common, liver cancer, stomach cancer, maybe these cancers, but also colorectal cancer. It is just, we don't have a very concrete data. We are still looking at the research, if we can have the research to know what factors are really attributed to these cancers. But in my observation, when you look at into the nutrition perspective in our community, there is a reason as to why liver, stomach, and colorectal cancer is much common in men in Rwanda. It might be because of poor diets. Men in Rwanda, most especially in city areas, in cities, they drink a lot of alcohol compared to women. They also exposed to meat, nyama choma. As you have seen, nyama choma is one of the causative factor for stomach and colorectal cancer. It might be maybe the reason as to why men are bit ahead of women in terms of cancer in these specific two cancers. But also liver cancer is common in both women and men in Rwanda. There is something that you have just presented that has been talked by Mike about the challenges, the situation in terms of profession. And I want to share with you that we, according to his presentation, we are sharing the similar challenges. One of understaffing, we are having, like in district hospitals, we only have one nutritionist who is in charge of conducting supervisions in the community and doing a lot of work, community work, who is not able to do a clinical nutrition part of. It might be because of the limited numbers of nutritionists at health facilities, and I think it is not because there is no budget for this. There are limited number of resources. It is because of the priorities. People, when you look at into the decision makers, policy makers, they have not yet recognized the role of nutritionists in disease management. So it might be the case in our country, but also the case in other countries, like I have heard from you Kenyans presenting. Lack of coordinated team, like even if a nutritionist is available at a certain facility, the engagement through the healthcare professionals, it is still very low. So this is the area that we need just to market ourselves. We need also to market ourselves. We need to talk about what we can really provide to the team, such that even the team recognize our role. So it can be the role of nutritionists to raise the voice, rather than having someone else somewhere thinking about your role and its approach to you. So it is a call for intervention I would wish to share with you. Let us, as nutritionists, advocate for ourselves raise our voices wherever we are, and we just we present to the team to what we can do, such that even the team can recognize our efforts. There is another team. Maybe I just wanted just to highlight these challenges. They are the challenges we are sharing as the nutritionists all over the region, all over, and I can say all over the globe. So, and it is our role. We have the role to play, as well as the policymakers and decision makers have their own roles to play. But we have to be the initiators. We have to be the people who really determined to make our professional shine and declare what we can do. We provide to the community. So without taking too much, I would wish to hand over the mic to you, to Lillian, and thank you all for listening to me. Over to you. Lillian.
Thank you for that. It is a good thing that you have painted a very clear picture of the situation about cancer in Rwanda, and we appreciate your insights. Asante sana. Now, back to general concerns. If there is someone with concerns, comments, they are welcome. We have like 4 minutes, and then, or even a burning question that has to be addressed, then we can close up the discussion. You can unmute your mic. Those that have raised their hands, if it was not by mistake, you can unmute your mic. Ask your questions. Talk about the concerns that you have. Our presenters are in. They are going to address it. Whether it's in Kenya, in Rwanda, anything that you will think that we should have additional to what we have actually managed. I understand cancer is very broad, and of course, we could not have done the whole management of cancer prevention in one sitting. So we're definitely going to have a follow-up discussions on the same. So you can also give us concerns on the same. If there are none, you will allow me to close the meeting in the next 3 minutes. Odero, Kennedy, closing or parting shots?
Mumina, thank you. Given my parting shot, I'd said we are in talks with our brothers from either ends. We are going to look forward. We have more robust discussions like this. I'm taking it upon myself. Those which need policy enforcements and standard checks, we are going to discuss with the KNDI to ensure they are addressed. Those which needs Kunad to address, those will be on my table. I'll be checking on them. And of course, those which needs expertise areas like Akina Kennedy coming in, Akina Ching Milan coming in, we are going to ensure they are done so that we have we can formulate a whole round system of managing patients, both in cancer and other diseases. From me and my family, I appreciate everyone. I thank everyone who joined this meeting, and let's keep in touch so that we share knowledge. Thank you so much. And whenever we have a webinar, we are going to share out in time so that we keep interacting. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Asante sana. Kennedy?
Yes. First of all, I want to thank the Kunad team for this interactive session. I really thank you for organizing this, and we look forward to do more of this. Secondly, I would like us to also go for further knowledge, because again, as the world goes on, we can't be nutritionist of all things. You can't manage all cases. So it is important that now you start focusing on specialization. They are available. Nutrition and Dietetics Academy Kenya have certified courses which have been which have been approved by the board to specialize in oncology, renal, pediatrics, and critical care. So that is where we are going, so that the next time I know Odero can get a critical care certified with the license to come and also present just as I've presented. This is very important, and this will help us also now to narrow the gap in matters nutrition and NCDs care. So otherwise, cancer is a very broad area, and I think we will always have time to do this. Thank you very much, and much appreciated. Back to you, Lillian.
Asante sana. that was a very elaborate discussion. We're definitely looking forward to more on the same. So kindly, if no one has a burning question, allow me to thank my presenters. Thank you for agreeing to my call. Thank you for being available to enlighten us and engage us tonight. Thank you for creating time. I know it's not something that most of us take light, but I appreciate the ability, the efforts that you went through to prepare these discussions for us. So Odero and Kennedy, I appreciate you a lot. Asanteni sana. So as we close the meeting, I also want to thank you, the participant, because you cannot talk to yourself. We needed you to be there so that you can be addressed, and for creating and showing interest in nutrition and management of cancer. We're definitely going to engage further on the same. So for all nutritionists in Kenya, remember, Kunad is available, and you check out our website if you have any questions. We have the number of the SG there. So, and the notes, yes, the notes are available for those that signed up. The ones that the email is already captured, you'll get the notes. So for those that did not sign up, I really don't know because, but we will see. So asanteni sana, and I am hoping to see you on the next one. Good night.
Good night. So Lilian, I've shared my contact.
Yes, Kennedy has shared his contact.
Just
in the chat
anybody
box.
who wants to reach out here.
Yeah. Yes. So if you want to reach out to ask about what he's doing on his research, how you can get involved, sometimes you can actually get involved, and if you don't ask, you will never know. So he has left his number in the chat box, so you can actually engage him further. And I think the SG will also type his number. Odero, kindly. The SG will type his number. But if you check on the website, www.kunad.org, you'll find his number there as well. The Secretary General, Michael Odero. So asanteni sana. Allow me to call it a night. Akili imechoka.
Asante sana.
Thank you.
Thank you.